Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and I'm in a little bit of disbelief as to what I've seen transpire over this game week in game week 11. It was actually a horror game week on many levels. As you can see on screen, I've been pinged with 4 flag stand burners out until January. Cash didn't make it to didn't make it to the 60 minutes. Madison didn't make it to halftime. Neither did Haaland. Captain blank, lots of blanks all over the place. It looks like a week where only differentials have come through. I did get very lucky in my transfer this week as I actually sold Udogie, who got red carded, and I bought in Guehi, who managed to get a clean sheet. But we'll go into that into a little bit more detail in a bit. Apologies if this video comes across as a little bit unorganized. I was obviously waiting until the Chelsea vs Spurs game, or Spurs vs Chelsea game this morning to see what the final results were going to be and to make sure that no more of my players came through without any injuries. But now that Madison's been pulled off, I'm a little bit unsure as to exactly what I'm going to do, but I thought I'd just jump on here and get this video out anyway. So before we get started, if you're not already a subscriber to this channel, consider subscribing. It really does help the channel out. And if you do enjoy the following content, make sure to give it a thumbs up. So, game week 11, I scored 38 points with an average of 32. My big players that came through for me was yet again Johnston in net with another 9-pointer from just pulling in the clean sheet. This time he comes away with some save points. Almost made it to 6 saves, which would have been an extra 1 point to make it a 10-pointer. Comes away with 2 bonus points. As you can see down here, he's got 9 in game week 11, 9 in game week 8, 9 in game week 7, and an 8 in game week 6. He is doing really well on the bonus points when Crystal Palace keep a clean sheet, which is something that I have been talking about on this channel for a little while. My purchase this week of Guehi, I was actually fuming that he went off at the ref after the halftime whistle had already gone for him to get himself a yellow card after the people were already walking off the pitch for dissent. He did manage to keep a clean sheet, so that's all well and good. I was a little bit gutted to see that Udogie was starting in that Chelsea fixture this morning, but obviously Udogie, what a crazy match. Like, he goes in for a 2-footed challenge that Sterling manages to sidestep just. If Sterling doesn't sidestep that, he either gets a broken leg and Udogie gets a straight red and gets sent off there, but as it so happens, Udogie just decided to go flying in for his second yellow and get sent off anyway. So I have dodged a bullet there. I could be sitting here with an extra flag, which would have almost probably would have 100% sold me into a wild card this week. So if you haven't been following the channel for a little while, I have been holding off using the wild card. I've been taking a few hits left, right, in a few of the game weeks. So what have I taken a hit in game weeks 10, 8, 6, and 6? So 3 hits this season. Game week 8 was when a lot of wildcards were being used. Game week 10 was also when a lot of wildcards were being used. So I was happy to take those hits to save my wildcard till later in the season, somewhere around game week 19, in order to try and set up for Man City's likely double in game week 20, Brentford's likely double. I should be able to avoid the blanks for City in game week 18 as well, but with all these flags on screen, I am sort of considering I might actually have to use it. So Guehi comes through, Cash gets subbed off at the 58-minute mark. He'd already conceded 2 goals by this point, so he gets the -1. Comes off with 0 points. An extra 2 minutes on the pitch, it would have come away with 1 point, and that 1 point would have actually made quite a bit of a difference in a game week where the average was only 32. Dan Burn, who I was umming and ahhing over selling this week, it was either him or Udogie that was going to go, but I decided to stick with the more sound defence of Newcastle and play him in the tough fixture for Arsenal. They did keep their clean sheet, and I would have blocked all of Trippier's points this week, but he gets himself injured with a back injury, taken off at the 45-minute mark. He is expected back the 1st of January, which is well into the future, meaning I have to sell Dan Burn this week. So he is definitely my free transfer out. Saka blanked again. Didn't really have too much involvement in this game. 0.02 XG is not what you want. He did get in and amongst the assists of 0.25 by the looks of things, but for an 8.5 million asset who I bought in last week as part of a 3 transfer move where I took 1 hit to bring in him, Watkins and Palmer, he hasn't really paid me back yet. Maddison looked like he was doing really well in the Spurs game this morning, but he has gone down without any contact from the player that was nearest to him, which is making me think that he is probably a little bit more injured than what we probably think. It didn't look very bad. He didn't look like he was in a lot of pain, but when players go down without any contact, it's kind of like a hamstring pull, right? Where you just see them pull up and it looks like something has gone. So we will have to wait and see for the press conferences at the end of the week. It is actually Maddison who is going to probably tip the scales for me as to whether or not I end up wildcarding. If he is just out for 1 game week, considering we do have the international break after game week 12, I may in fact just hold on to Maddison and bench him, which is not ideal because if you have been following the channel for a while, you will know that I am running with a very light bench this season. And I've got Baldock and Kabore on the bench there, which is not the greatest cover for Maddison, and I don't really want to be benching an £8.1 million asset, but I did buy James Maddison for game week 1. I bought him in at 7.5 million, and so if I do sell him, it is going to be a severe loss in value of about 0.3 million, which I will have to find somewhere else, as I see Maddison as a season keeper, and I want to hold him in my squad for as long as possible. Son also scored a goal in that game, but that was ruled out for offside. He looked pretty dynamic in that match while Spurs still had 11 men on the pitch. They did in fact go down to 9 men, with both Romero, the horror challenge in the box, following through, almost breaking Enzo's ankle there if he actually followed through ever so slightly harder. It's terrible red card to give away from Romero. I think he's averaging a red card every 19 games at the moment, which is some doing. And of course Udogie was also sent off in the same fixture. So Spurs with 9 men, you can't expect a hell of a lot from Maddison and Son out of that fixture, but wowee, Spurs, they are playing for the fans. That was a hell of a performance to put up with 9 men, still pressing the ball, still playing a high line. Yeah, it all fell over at the end, and Jackson comes away with the hat-trick. Jackson, of all players, comes away with a hat-trick. It's just, okay, crazy. But I will obviously be holding on for as long as possible. He's going nowhere from my squad. Cole Palmer, finally. I bought him in last week as part of that hit. I was pretty gutted that he wasn't awarded a penalty in the fixture last game week, but I thought that was a clear pen, but another clear penalty given away by Romero here. Palmer steps up, sends a solid shot that Vicario gets both fingertips to, but it is hit so hard that he just was not able to keep it out. So it comes off the inside of the post and goes in. He also got the assist from super deep to put through Jackson for his hat-trick. He just sent a long ball forward because Spurs were still playing a high line, 9 men. Everyone was run ragged. And Jackson just runs through in on goal. I'm so glad he didn't pass it off to Mudryk on the left. He looked like he got caught in two minds as to what to do about it, which actually sent Vicario the wrong way, and then he could just walk it around and Palmer comes away with a goal and an assist for 12 points in a 38 game point week. That is a huge score, which has actually got me the green arrow. I was sitting on about... So I started the game week at 50k, or just outside the top 50k. I was sitting at on a red arrow of about 20k, down to 70k before the Spurs and Chelsea game this morning. Maddison 1 point, Son 2 points, but Palmer coming through with a 12-pointer sends me all the way back up the ranks to the top 28k. It's not quite the highest I've been this season, but it is good to be back up in and amongst it. Salah blanks in the fixture against Luton. Luton, by the way, wow, you have won me over with that performance. I watched a little bit of Luton earlier on in the season and thought that if they played like that all season, they would be the hard wooden spoons, probably last by quite a distance. But having watched the performance they put in against Liverpool, there was some heart going into that. So congratulations to Luton. Unlucky that you lost the victory there. I'm super stoked that Salah didn't come away with some sort of haul there, because I've obviously captained Haaland, who in a 6-goal demolition of Bournemouth didn't manage to even make it to half. I think he made it to half time, was pulled off at half time, already 3 goals in the net, and he hasn't been involved in any of it. Looks to me like he slightly rolled his ankle in that shot. It's probably taken off as a precaution because the game was already won at this point 3-0. I do not think, well, even if he is out for a game week, I'll probably have to hold on to Haaland as well, as I do not see myself selling him just to buy him back again. And everyone has him, so everyone will be in the same boat there. So I don't really think it's worth the transfer. And Watkins blanked again as well. My bench is doing bits though. Baldock comes back to play his first 90 minutes since game week 4, which could be very helpful when I'm looking at 4 flags for this game week. Kabore earned himself the assist in the 1-1 draw with Liverpool and all 3 bonus points. That has actually earned him promotion to first spot on my bench this game week, as he comes up against a struggling Manchester United, who, well, it was awesome to see United get a result, but another very touch and go performance from United, and about the most scruffy ping pong type of goal that you will ever see at the close of a fixture to steal the game by Fernandes. Great that has happened as I'm a United supporter, but oof, we are cutting it fine. So I will very quickly go into the FPLFanatic League, because we have had quite a few new entrants to the league. If you are interested in joining, the league is still open. I have decided that I'm going to keep it open until game week 19. So halfway through the season, I will be shutting it down after game week 19 concludes, when the final game week, I think it's the final game week that you're allowed to use the first wildcard. At that point, we will lock down the league to play it out for the rest of the season. But up until then, feel free to still join. So we have had Charlie Seaver come in at top of the league. He is currently in the top 1,000 in the world right now, sitting at 993 overall, game week score of 30. He's got Trippier, who's come through for him. Gordon, very nice differential, who scored the only goal in the Newcastle-Arsenal game. And everyone else basically blanked for him this week. You got caught unlucky with a Simicast benching. So this is a bit of the risk that comes in with buying replacement players for first team starters. So Simicast replacing Robertson, who is out with his dislocated shoulder. You would have expected Simicast to just nail down that spot and continue playing, but they put in Joe Gomez at left back, right-footed player at left back. It is purely tactical. I am a little unsure as to exactly why that Klopp has gone and done that. I have been saying on the channel for a little while, I am not too impressed with the amount of fouls that Simicast gives away. And when Simicast did actually make it onto the pitch in the Liverpool fixture, he did still give away some unnecessary fouls. So it could be due to that, or it could just be down to the player attributes and who he was going to be man marking. But Charlie Seaver, 993 overall. He is absolutely stomping the league at the moment, the new entrant. He is ahead by 21 points, clear of second place Nick Ollislager, who has been basically top of the league for the last couple of weeks, I think. But we have three people all sitting on 726 points. Nick Ollislager, Jan Picallo, I think I've got a little something on my screen there. If that's not a T, apologies if I've pronounced that wrong. And Mark McCormick, all on 726 points. Currently inside the top 10k comfortably at 7.6k overall. Then we've got RBD Dido and Cam Elliott. Cam Elliott's been in the league for quite a while, up near the top, but with the new entrants we are dropping a couple of places here. They're both in at 725. Then Mark Hubbard, who's been in and around the top for a while as well, 719. Ben Johns, 718, with Andrew Pasquette at 718. And Clyde Bickford to round out the top 10 at 712 points. I am 1 point off the top 10, but still within fighting distance of the top players. Charlie Seaver, by the way, has actually used a couple of chips. He used his wildcard in game week 8, did hold on to Haaland, I think. He didn't go Haaland this year, Haaland and Salah, but he did captain Salah, huge call, game week 8, and he has used his triple captain in game week 2, and has never been outside the top 170k. Started game week 1, 170k, shot up to 14k overall using that triple captain chip, and has basically been there or better for the entire season. Now that is some doing. And he's an Aussie from across the ditch as well. Well, that just means I'm definitely going to have to hunt you down, mate. Big rivalry between Kiwis and Aussies, if you are not familiar. So, that's enough of that. Let's just jump quickly into the walking wounded. So, what I do this week is largely going to revolve around, obviously, the injuries within my team. Now, Dan Burn, as I've already mentioned, very frustrating injury, as he did, in fact, keep the clean sheet, but was subbed off before the 60-minute mark with his back injury, and will be out until the earliest of about the 1st of January. For the structure and strategy that I am running, which is a very light bench, if I get players that are out for a while, I just have to instantly sell them. It basically forces me into a transfer almost immediately. I'm actually not too remiss about doing this, because as other strategies with a slightly stronger bench, a lot of people do actually just put that player on the bench so that they can follow through with the transfers that they already had planned in mind. But the problem with doing that is you'll quite often see that these players sit on the bench for sometimes weeks on end and start to lose value in the squad. So with this aggressive strategy of a very light bench and having to transfer out my starting 11 when they are deemed out through injury, it does mean that I do hold on to a lot more team value. And it does allow me to afford front lines like the one that I have at the moment. So Haaland, Salah, Son, Maddison, Saka and Watkins. I've fit them all into the team quite comfortably. Obviously Cole Palmer definitely helps that out, as he is only 5.0 million. Probably go up this week with that haul, I would guess. Guehi, Cash, Burn, and Johnston. I mean, I haven't really scrimped and saved across the backline. Of course, I don't have players like Trippier, Trent, or Robertson, but making all these aggressive transfers has actually allowed me to cement some pretty decent team values. 102.0 squad value right now with 0.5 million in the bank. I am looking at going from Dan Burn to Lascelles just to stick in that Newcastle defense. Lascelles playing 90 minutes on end with the injury to Dan Burn. It almost 100% cements Lascelles' spot into the squad if he was not already cemented. With Botman out for a while with that knee injury, Lascelles has come in as a replacement. The defence has still looked very strong with him in squad, and now with another starting defender injured, I think Eddie Howe will just play Lascelles as often as he can, because there has been a bit of a partnership that has been built up between him and Fabian Schär. You do not want to be changing around too much when you are down quite a few starters from your starting 11. So Lascelles to me just looks about as nailed on as he's ever going to get. And Newcastle is sitting top of my fixture ticker right up until game week 19, which is when I would ideally like to leave my wild card until. So I am planning to try and get right the way through until game week 19. I am now buying defenders to just chuck into the squad until that game week 19 fixture. And so Lascelles from Newcastle, with the only really tricky fixtures here are going to be Chelsea at home, who are still struggling to score goals. Yes, I do know that they have just won 4-1 this morning, but 9 men Spurs, the circumstances just dictated that game, and they are still, well, with Nicholas Jackson up front, you can actually, I did actually make some notes on Jackson. There was a, sorry, I'm just scrolling through it now. 56 minutes. So at the 56-minute mark, for any of you who do have access to the game, go and look at Jackson's miss from 4 yards out. I've just got a note down here that says Jackson misses from 4 yards out. How does he miss that? It's off his head. He's basically glanced it. This is what I've been talking about in the videos last week as a bit of a risk to my Cole Palmer transfer if he is going to be trying to set up someone like Jackson. I do not suspect that they will score as many goals. Now, yes, Jackson has just scored a hat-trick, but I think a 14-year-old kid probably could have walked in that hat-trick this weekend with the balls that were received in those spots. So I wouldn't really say that that is Jackson's standout performance and he's going to go on to do better things. I'm still extremely worried about him starting in the Chelsea squad. But for a Newcastle defender coming in, I do not see this as an overly tough game for Newcastle. Manchester United is also not going to be too tough of a game. They are still struggling to put performances together. So it's really only Tottenham away in game week 16 that looks kind of tricky from a defensive point of view. And all the other fixtures look like about as banker clean sheets as you could get. Bournemouth away, Everton away, Fulham at home, Luton away, and Nottingham Forest at home, leading up until game week 19. Newcastle looks like the team to buy if you are looking to buy for the long term. So I will definitely be transferring Burn out this game week for Lascelles. So Cash could be out or possibly is out, and if he is indeed out, I actually am not too concerned about playing Kabore against Manchester United away this week, having watched that Luton versus Liverpool fixture. Now, if they just continue on with the performance that they just put in against Liverpool, I think they could keep Manchester United to a clean sheet here. Manchester United have been capitulating. They haven't been stringing together very good attacks. The goal that they scored at the weekend was, like I said in the intro, about as scruffy and ping-pong as a goal as you could possibly imagine. And so I could see Kabore coming away with a clean sheet, or maybe even an attacking return if Luton do manage to scrounge one in here. But Maddison, if he is in fact out, I do not really fancy playing Bulldog in a 4-4-2 that would consist of Lascelles, Baldock, Kabore and Guehi benching Maddison. I mean, it doesn't sound amazing, but if Maddison is only out for a short while, we do have the international break after game week 12, so if he just misses this one game week, I may just hold on to Maddison and basically play with a pseudo 10 players. If Haaland is also out, I will probably not be selling him either, but this is, I mean, if I'm playing with like 9 men, maybe it is worth pulling a wild card here. Now, the reasons that I am a little bit averse to pulling the wild card is I'm actually extremely happy with my 7 attackers. So this wild card would basically only be shifting around my substitute goalkeeper and my bench members, tidying up cash and burn. I would probably end up, I don't know which 4 million defender I would go over Kabore. I might even just end up holding on to him. I will have to build a wild card probably tomorrow to really assess whether or not it's actually worthwhile me pulling the wild card here. But Bulldog I bought at 4 million. He's down at 3.8 million. I don't necessarily want to sell him and lock in that loss of 0.2 million in value. I suspect that other managers who are scrimping and saving may start to transfer Bulldog in, as he is now a 90-minute playing defender at 3.8 million. He may actually get a few purchases and I may earn back some of that lost value. As you've lost value, you get that value instantly granted back to that player if you've still held on to him. So if he goes up to 3.9, he immediately goes up to 3.9 sale price for me. And of course up to 4 million as well. So he could indeed rise in value. Woodrow, I bought at 4.5 million. He has lost value down to 4.4 million. So if I sell him, that's also an instant loss of funds. I quite like running with a dead third striker spot anyway in my current setup of a 3-5-2. I never call on my third bench spot, so I don't really want to upgrade him to a 4.5 or a 4.6 or maybe even a 4.7 playing Archer. I mean, how much is Cameron Archer at now? Oh, he's still at 4.5. I mean, maybe I go up to Cameron Archer, but I mean, for a wild card to be pulling in, Woodrow up to Archer, probably holding on to Bulldog at 3.8 million, which is basically a 4 million player in my squad. Switching out a Kabore to a 4.0, maybe taking a Turner down to Strakosha because Turner has now lost his spot. I don't want to sell Johnston. I'm more than happy with him as a keeper. It doesn't really seem like a great use of a wildcard. So, like I said at the start of this video, this is probably a little bit more of a disorganized video. If you are a little bit used to the channel, I usually do come on with a lot more structured thoughts and plans in mind, but with everything that happened in the Spurs vs Chelsea game this morning, it has thrown me a little bit, and I did need to get this video out today. So I've basically just freeballed it a little, put all my ideas out there for what I am currently considering. I will look at making a wild card without Maddison, assuming that Maddison is out. So if Maddison is out for, say, a month or so, then I will, even a month with 2 weeks of international break means he would only actually miss 2 game weeks. He would probably lose a lot of value over that time, so I would probably look at selling him if he's out for 4 weeks or more, as I will probably be able to buy him back in 4 weeks time at a similar price that I will probably sell him for. So it will all definitely revolve around Maddison's injury, and I am a little bit concerned that he has gone down without any real challenge to him. So we will have to wait on that information. There is also Champions League and Europa fixtures midweek this week, so I will also need to make sure that I don't end up with any more flags within my team as the game week plays out. But that is it for today's video. So if you did get something out of this video, press the like button and consider subscribing. It really does help the channel out. And if not, that's alright too. I appreciate you watching. And until next time, I'll catch you again. Cheers.